Hello, so Sunday's stream, as the title says, not sure if I'll be on the full hour, but, I'll be on for a bit. So, hopefully a notification goes out and everything, because in general with these streams, sometimes it seems to get a lot of people coming on, sometimes it doesn't. But it says one person's turned up, so that's good. Hello, you right? Right, it says 16 people are on now, so she must start seeing more comments. Hello everybody, right. So yeah, as I said, no real theme for this, just, don't do any of the political stuff or whatever. What was I going to say? The most interesting thing I've heard recently about stuff like Corona is that, interesting, not so good, is that the R0 of Corona is now over 1 in the UK again, which means it's, actually spreading again, not the numbers are going down. Because unfortunately, people being idiots deciding to go to raves and, at the beach and all that is making the numbers go up. So, those people are essentially responsible for deaths and destroying the economy, because the longer it goes on, the worse the economy will get. So, that's great news, isn't it? There's people that literally can't, just follow social distancing rules. But yeah, let's see if there's any particular news of Corona. At the moment, there's a thing about the schools, I would say, are reopening, aren't they, in September? But that obviously doesn't apply to me because I'm a bit too old for school, but There's a news article that says I became alcoholic during lockdown. I'm sure lots of people can sympathise with that guy. Just because, I wouldn't say I'm actually obviously an alcoholic, because I'm not dependent on alcohol, but I've been drinking way too much during the thing. Oh, that's not good, relapsey. What symptoms do you have? Did you say you had like coughs and a fever, or hopefully, obviously, you get through it fine. Have they basically said that don't go into hospital unless it gets really serious or something? Some strange comments already. There's not a basement in this house. It'd be good if there was, but there isn't. Oh, so the only symptom you've got is you can't smell anything. Can you taste anything? Or is it just literally your sense of smell's gone? Oh, so it's just literally no smell and taste. Because I think they were saying that was like the most common symptom now, weren't they? Even though, to start with, nobody was actually reporting that as a symptom. No, because if you've watched the videos a lot, you'd know that I was medically unfit to serve, even if I wanted to. Yeah, some schools are doing like less days in, aren't they, or something? Like, yeah, you're only in like 1 or 2 days a week. Oh, that's good, wondering, Dashan, that, she recovered from it fine. Because the problem I've heard is that some people get it, but then they seem to be, even like months later, still have some of the symptoms. Yeah, work wasn't too bad today. It was a lot busier yesterday, so. I just find all this stuff interesting, and if you got a hobby, it makes more sense to do it, videos on it and whatever. But the thing is, if I didn't do the YouTube stuff, there wouldn't be this amount of stuff behind me. Because I'd only have a few things, of each type. I wouldn't get more and more to do different videos on. Well, it's good that you've had it and recovered, radioactive cow. But that's interesting, isn't it? Because, like I said, in March, I had like 2 weeks of feeling really fluey and sick, days where I almost couldn't get out of bed, where you ache all over, like headaches, body aches, all that sort of thing. I've got ulcerative colitis, Gus Games, which is very similar. Crohn's is Crohn's is the worst one because it covers more of your digestive tract, doesn't it? But UC and Crohn's are pretty much treated by the same doctors. Like when I go to John Radcliffe, you get seen by the same doctors for both Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, because it's essentially done by the same sort of specialist doctors. If I grow a beard, Daniel Sniper, I can't wear a gas mask. Subs to stream, I think it might be 1K now, I don't know. Just for anybody making weird comments, don't spam the chat with weird comments. You'll probably get a timeout and a block. I've already blocked one person because he was just making weird comment after weird comment. The guy going like, please let me out of the basement. I haven't eaten in 2 weeks. Help me. Comments like that. It's a bit of a personal question, Nightwolf, isn't it? Asking me about personal finances. I don't mind saying like in rough terms, but it really does vary because obviously a lot of the time it varies on ad rate throughout the year. Obviously, when you do streams, people can super chat, so it could be like a few £100 a month to like a few grand a month. I did make a proper savings account though the other day, so I can start moving money into it to save up for the bunker, because the problem is with at the moment is obviously if I keep all my money in my main bank account, I keep not sort of thinking some of that saving money. It's a bit late for Avon stocks, Vic, because they're up. They've been up a lot over the years. I had some Avon stocks years ago and sold them to pay off part of my car, but that was like the previous car. It was a Golf, but. Yeah, Avon stocks, the best time to have bought those would have been during the start of lockdown because they've gone up massively since. They're still on an upwards trend at Vic, but it was one of those shares where I think they've gone up by like 50% what they were in like March time. And I think that's a similar thing that's happened with the shares on a lot of companies that make like PPE and like cleaning products. That, any company that basically make stuff that's in demand at the moment is doing very well. Not sure yet, Radioactive Cow. It would depend whereabouts it is, and the practicality of it. Because it would have to be, I'd have to restore one, I imagine, first, Radioactive Cow. But, ideally, because the house prices in the UK, like I said, I'd be quite happy to live in it because there's lots of people who end up, like essentially rough sleeping in vans and that here just due to the sheer stupidity of house prices. But from what I understand, it's that it would be not like the most comfortable place to live long term. All right, cool, Daniel Sniper, you do that. Well, what GZ Deuce? Do you mean what was it originally used for, or what would I use it for? I'd essentially use it as a living space. That happens to be a bunker. But if you mean what were they originally built for, the UK built lots and lots of ROC bunkers for bomb coordination, sort of triangulation stuff during the Cold War, but they kind of became obsolete a bit into the Cold War, obviously, because of how many ICBMs would be exchanged. What did he say that got him timed out? In the UK, to hunt, you'd have to be on land that you've got permission to shoot on. Solar panel is what most people use, Mark. I think Surviving the Apocalypse has a solar panel on his one that uses, keeps the ventilation going. But I think by default they use like a battery sort of backup system type thing, where it essentially charges batteries when there's mains electricity on it or whatever, a generator mains, well, it wouldn't be mains, but a generator or like solar or whatever going in, and then it starts draining the batteries if the power conks out. Yeah, I was going to say, is that you, Hype, or is it somebody impersonating you? I think Youssef is trying to be controversial because he says M10 gas mask is the best and CT12 is the worst. What? Because you're just flipping around my opinions of them. Yes, GZ Deuce, that sounds interesting. I mean, depending on obviously the type of bunker, some are more comfortable than others. That's pretty cool, Hype. Let me have a look. Is it just like decent polycarbonate? Oh, links don't work. I forgot. Hang on. It's because some reason if you're streaming and click a link, it doesn't actually open the link. Okay, let's see. So impressive, isn't it? It's like dimpled it, but it's not broken through. Yeah, it is impressive. I wouldn't have thought those masks would have held up as well as that. So it'd actually be quite a good riot gas mask, I assume, in terms of the facial protection of it should absorb quite a bit of a blast. So yeah, you see obviously it eventually breaks, but it seems to be more like the rubber coming away, doesn't it? And like the plastic coming away from the polycarb or whatever it is. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Thanks for linking that. Hello to you in Chile. If I've missed any comments, repeat them because obviously I was looking at that video Hype linked. I don't think an actual zombie apocalypse can happen, no. Yes, Lewis. Hello, Lewis, as well. Hype linked a video further up in the chat, and it was of the Russian mag, whatever it's called, the Zelensky mag. I've got one out in the conservatory in a storage box. It's a mask where it's a good face piece, but I don't really like the straps. But it turns out from the test video that Hype just linked that people shooting them with birdshot and the shotguns, the mask doesn't break at all. But ballistic is in, like you were saying, birdshot, type shot. And thank you very much, Russian Rooster. But yeah, like birdshot style protection, not obviously 9mm and stuff like that. Yeah, that Vic, there's quite a lot of cool looking old masks, aren't there? Like tank crew and navy masks. Yeah, that's correct, Visa. But as I've said before, main reason I want one isn't really for a nuclear war scenario. It's just because it would be cool to have a bunker, and they are like 1/10 of the price of crap housing in the UK. What, that one? I haven't actually played the Call of Duty Chernobyl one in ages. I can't remember there being a gas mask sign. I know there'd probably be radiation symbols all around Pripyat in that mission. Country's history. I'm trying to think. As in ones where they. I mean, there's quite a lot of interesting African nations that had like interesting history. Like prior to the modern day. Well, yeah, I think for the most part, if I was doing one, I'd rather have it more comfortable and practical rather than restoring it to how it would originally look with like antiquated gear in it. Yes, radioactive cow. I've got some negative ion powder, which I bought from a Chinese sort of thing on it was either Wish or eBay, I think. Which is apparently the stuff they put in it, and it's literally just some sort of radioactive powder. It's the idea that people would use those thinking they'd heal themselves is pretty horrible. I just keep it locked in the safe with the other stuff just for using with Geigers. Yeah, that's the thing, Lewis. I certainly don't think I'd survive it in a Fred's type, scenario. It's just more like saying a bunker is quite practical just due to housing prices. So it hurts your cheekbones. So what, like there? That sort of area on the jaw, or that bit? Do you mean? Having a larger size, could you put a bit of foam there? But it sounds like you probably just have one that's a bit too small for you. No, I've not visited Morocco. I was asked on the other stream the other day all the countries I visited, so I won't list them all out again. Oh, so that sort of area, is it? Then you just have a mask too small, don't you? And you have to get a bigger one. What, as in like Brita filter type water filters, Oscaris, or do you mean like proper military water filters? Because you can buy military like filter kits, for canteen water, so you could essentially get water out the river or whatever, and then filter it from that. You also get stuff like life straws, don't you? Whatever they're called, which are like filter straw type things you can drink through. Hello, Scroll for your gaming. You right? I'm pretty sure they are, Mark, because the really big bunkers were like the ones for regional governments. They were the really big ones because they were designed to house, like potentially hundreds of people, like Howard and Hatch, those sort of bunkers. Then there was, I think, 3 ROC posts to one sort of like communications or like control post or something they called it, wasn't it? Yeah. I think there was like several tiers of sizes of bunkers, but the ROC posts are the smallest because they're literally, essentially for 2 to 4 people to be in on shifts, basically, in case of a bomb going off, and then sending in the coordinates. Sadly, I think making your own sealand might be a bit more difficult. It'd be a bit more annoying if you wanted to go shopping, wouldn't it? You have to get on a boat every day. Okay. That sounds useful to know, Hype. Well, Daniel Sniper, yes, the SAS are a real thing. They're, kind of one of the world's most famous special forces. Quite an old one as well, because they were founded in World War II. And that's, if Mike was on, he's really into talking about the SAS, but the reason they were called the Special Air Service originally was apparently so it would sound like it had nothing to do with, like, elite soldiers. It made it sound like it was more like an Air Force thing. But yeah, Mark, I'd agree for one person they'd be comfy enough. Again, it depends sort of how much size you want, doesn't it? Because obviously I wouldn't be carting all this to try and fill a bunker up completely with it. But yeah, that I think for one person they'd be absolutely fine as long as you wanted just very, very basic living requirements. Yeah, my favourite ones, Lewis, are all the weird nukes like green cheese or whatever it was. I think one was Redbeard, wasn't it? I know Blue Danube was the sort of dropped original gravity bomb. But yeah, there's lots of weird British things that have very strange names for the sake of them. But that's really annoying, actually. If you want to look up, when they release the old military files on the archives, it's really annoying if you're trying to find particular stuff because often you have to know what the weird code names they use for things were. I'll have to look them up, Jackson. What spring assisted lives? There's no point in them being legal. I mean, they're illegal at the moment, and I don't see why you'd actually need a spring-assisted knife. It's one of those things where if they weren't illegal, I wouldn't say make them illegal, but I don't see why they should be legalized. Because essentially, it's basically a knife powered by a spring, isn't it? You know. Um. Well, Daryl, the problem is with all of those, qualities you want from it, especially with it being affordable, is pretty hard to recommend at the moment due to Corona. Finish M61s, if you can get a 60 to 40mm converter for them, are actually very comfortable masks. It would be possible if you paid enough, Percival, but I imagine you'd be paying several $1,000s. I'm glad I helped you. What was that? Just with advice. I'm not a massive fan of the GP7V, but if it works for you, it works for you. Yeah, I imagine you'd have to plumb it, Mark, wouldn't you? But yeah, like I said, there's lots of really cool things people could do with them. It's just a shame so many get kind of like, abandoned and vandalized and whatever. It's like the vandalism I really don't get. Because, I can understand if some of them are just abandoned on land and, nothing gets done with them and then they flood or whatever. But yeah, I just do not get the people that, are like, oh, cool, there's this old abandoned bunker on this bit of land. Let's just smash the shit out of it, and put graffiti all over it. It's like, what's the point? You wouldn't have any noise problems, would you, Mark, if you're in one of those? All right, Richard. Well, I can understand why they'd be in there using them, but they could also just do that in lots of other sort of remote places, couldn't you? Normally it was toilet cubicles. The Special Air Service, just the commonly known public stuff. I've not read any detailed books on the history of the SAS or anything, but founded during World War II, basically for commando raids, carried out lots of cool things. They came to public attention mostly during the Iranian embassy siege, where obviously they liberated the hostages and shot the terrorists. But yeah, they're basically just a very good special forces thing. It's the same as anything like Delta Force or any of those. They go in if you've got a problem basically and fix it. I mean, the best thing Beowulf would be just to basically have all in private ownership, where they're just kept locked up when, nobody's in them, or when they're in them, locking the hatch from the inside. That's actually a very good idea, Mark, there, yeah. All right, Daniel Sniper, it does really seem like you're trolling at this point, but you'd have to be in the army to be in the SAS, and then they're the best of the best. Very few people even get through selection, even if they're good soldiers. You don't just go, oh, I would like to apply for the SAS. Saying that did remind me, though, when we were at school and we had, like, the recruitment day things. And one of the ones we were in was, like, for, like, the armed forces. I think it was the RAF that the speaker was actually from, but, it was just, in general, the armed forces. And there was literally some kid that was like, oh, I've played lots of Call of Duty. Does that mean I can join the SAS? What is it then, A Truck Campbell? The Rain. Is that a film or what? I've already reviewed a lot of swords, Jack. Really cheap swords are wall hangers. They're not practical. All right, The Rain. Let me search The Rain TV show then. Is this the Danish thing? Or is it something else? Right, I'm pretty sure Wong Lee's a troll, so I'm hiding him because he's been timed out by the mods a few times. I've reviewed lots of Chinese products on this channel, just like I reviewed lots of products from various places. Marcus, I've just got rid of him now because he was saying so many weird things in a row. He seemed like, we've had some weirdos on tonight as usual. The time? There's a clock, look. It's 7:20 anyway. Yeah, that was my point, Mark. I'm not even medically fit to serve if I wanted to, like regular armed forces. But... Yusuf, you're a troll as well, aren't you? I haven't done any in absolutely ages, just because around here there isn't really much you can do other than sort of like, pigeons and sort of rodent type stuff. Anyway, I'll get rid of Youssef because for the people who don't know, although he did ask a few proper questions, he kept saying things like CT12 is a bad mask, you lie. Cheap filters are good, you are lying. So I think he's just trying to stir up shit. Yeah, in general, for some reason, when I stream in the evening, you get a lot more weirdos than when you stream in the afternoon. Although some saying that, there was those people coming on the afternoon streams keep going like, bloody immigrants coming over here, with loads and loads of accounts, taking our jobs, one of those sort of people. What's Pinyin then? Hype. I think we used to have like a Chinese bloke called Lee, who was like as his surname that I used to work with, but that was kind of like an anglicized name because his actual name, was like quite complicated. So he kind of had, because I think he was originally from Hong Kong, so he had like one of those sort of, just call me this sort of thing. But that sounds cool. Thank you, FC. Oh, sorry, I suppose that's Forever Young, is it? But yeah, Yugoslavian M74. Is that the one that was the 7.62 NATO one? Let me have a look. Because there's the M76 comes up, which is the one that was in 7.62 by 51. And obviously there's the Yugo M70 and M72, isn't there? The M70 is the RPK, the M72. Whereas the M70... It's the RPK I've got. I can't pick it up in the background. So the M72 is the RPK. That's the one I've got, the DIAC. You can see the barrel behind me, even though you're not meant to show guns on things. It's an RPK, it's quite a long barrel. I don't think that would be a worthwhile business, truck Campbell basically buying surplus that isn't really fit for use anymore and then converting it. Yeah, that is weird, isn't it, Lewis? Because, yeah, eczema as well. I have eczema. I didn't even know that was on the list, but yeah. Oh, okay. All right, thank you. That's something actually quite interesting to know. Oh, gas masks. Oh, yes, is that the Romanian one? The Romanian M74? Yeah, I get you now. Sorry, I was thinking it was a rifle for some reason, like the Yugo ones. So yeah, let's go back up and have a look at your comment again. I'll reread it so it makes sense. Just gather together Yugoslavian M74 kit. Yeah, I think it's a Romanian M74 we're thinking of. Yeah, so it is a Romanian one. Yeah, the Yugoslav. That's what I was getting confused because the Yugoslav masks were the primarily the M1 and MC1 variant, also known as the M59, and the M2. And I think there was a children's mask as well. And there's probably a few other like industrial masks and that. But yeah, Romanian M74 and M85 are the two German M65 license copies they did. It's pretty hard online, Daryl. I'd say just make sure you buy it from a reputable seller. I don't think you can radioactive cow. They are really kind of. I mean, I can understand with some of the medical things why you couldn't, but I know there was somebody on here that used to come on, and she wanted to join, but she had. It wasn't dyslexia, but it was one of those things like that, and that was disqualified as well. Because basically, what ended up happening is they had quite a big list when I assume it was when there was a lot of budget cuts to it of all different conditions that you couldn't sign up with, Yeah, it's a Romanian mask then, Forever Young. Basically, it's the Romanian M65 copies. Oh, the tank ones are cool. I have seen those before, like the tank biathlons or whatever they call them, like the tank Olympics, basically. Yeah, it's on there, Richard, along with ADHD. What are the other ones that are similar to it? OCD, I think, as well. Like proper OCD, though. I mean, not, like, oh, I have OCD because I like things in a neat row. I mean, people who actually have proper obsessive compulsive. But yeah, there's the easiest way, Daryl. Wow. For that, I'd need to get the exact 3M one and a rip-off 3M to compare them. But it's kind of hard to say. But in general, the real 3M ones feel a bit better than some of the cheapo ones. The charcoal is probably expired unless it's a very recent suit, truck Campbell. Right, right, nice going over. The easiest way to find a mask for sale is that you go on eBay because you get loads and loads and loads on eBay from various like surplus sellers and like new Chinese ones and that being sold. The easy for size, the only way I can recommend size is look up a GP5 sizing chart and then basically translate that roughly into other sizes of masks. It's not ideal. Does your M51 fit you? If your M51 fits you, you can probably work out roughly what size you'd be in most masks. As in, if a medium M51 fits you, then medium in most masks would be fine. Yeah, it's very strange, Henry, isn't it? You might find some on Etsy, Schlumpty Dumpty. But other than eBay, not much. I mean, individual army surplus stores have them. So like Commando Store in the US sells masks, but S10s are pretty hard to get, from what I understand, in the US for not silly money. Because I've sent one of my subscribers and patrons one of my old S10s recently, just because he's donated a lot. So I said, look, you can have one for free. But yeah, Marcus actually made a very good point. Buying it from other collectors, actually, yeah, that's a very good point. When you say that, do you mean the Galil, as in the rifle? That's pretty cool, but I obviously don't have one because I'm in the UK. M15 masks are cool. Apparently, the older you are, fox sickness, the more likely you are to get a worse illness of it. So it's basically linear with age at how dangerous it is, plus other, underlying conditions. So in theory, children can spread it, but it's very, very unlikely children will get horribly sick with it. But that doesn't mean that, some kids haven't died with it. I don't know, Henry. But I know in some places they don't even anyway, if there's any more questions, I'll try and answer them. I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment. As I had a corona test a few days ago, I've obviously not got the corona. It's just a sore throat. Sadly, I've not reviewed bunkers, Jackson Smith. I know at one point there were companies selling like commercial bunkers, weren't there? Which is kind of cool, but yeah. Sadly, I'm not a bunker salesman and a bunker reviewer. It's strange, isn't it, Forever Young? We've got the same thing here where, although people are obliged to wear masks or are required to wear masks in a lot of places, for some reason, children under a certain age don't have to. And then there's like a load of big list of other conditions saying you don't have to wear a mask for this reason. And you think, well, it's not going to help the spread then, is it? It should be either everybody has to wear them or nobody has to wear them. It seems very strange that you can say things like, oh, if you're younger than a certain age, you don't need a mask. If you have a list of underlying health conditions, you don't need a mask, even ones that have nothing to do with the respiratory system. You could buy a GP5 filter off eBay. Come on, Dog. I assume or Dog. I assume you mean like a modern filter though for the GP5. There was an interesting thing about container bunkers on an old UK kind of nuclear war sort of episode documentary on the Science Show. And it was showing the companies that, made the ones that you can literally bury in your garden. And then like one of them had a hand crank. And then it was like, every hour for like 10 minutes, you had to turn the hand crank to pull more air in through the filters. No, because nearly everything in the smoke, Beowulf, will get absorbed by the filter or adsorbed by the filter. Right, see you, hi, have a good evening. Yeah, I think the problem is Forever Young. There's lots of people taking that attitude, isn't there, of I don't want to do anything because my rights, And here's the thing: I am definitely a very libertarian sort of person when it comes to individual freedoms and everything. But surely a lot of people doing dangerous shit are basically, infringing on other people's rights, aren't they? Because they're basically saying that what I'm going to do probably will infect you. And that doesn't mean I think everybody should wear masks 24/7 or whatever. It's just that there's lots of things where you see the people going to those stupid parties literally because, oh, I've been told not to go to parties, so I'm going to go to a party, dude. Gonna get the Roner. My favorite German gas mask. Out of all the German masks I have, probably the Volksmask or Volksmask 37 because it's quite high quality. It's an interesting mask. Out of all the German masks I know of, probably the M2000. too many. I'd say between 150 and 200. I'd have to do like an audit on them to know the exact number. Well, the problem is if it was just kids under 2, it wouldn't be so bad. But in a lot of places, they're saying things like if they're under 12 or whatever. Surely at 11 years old, by the time you're going into secondary school in the UK, you should know, why you might need to wear a mask. Just literally use rubbing alcohol or something weak like that. Nice guy Nova. Yeah, the BEM4 GP is actually quite good. Obviously, I've got the older version. Oh, I put my hand in that finger trap again. I've got the older version. Well, the more modern one where they remove the drinking tubes and they put a plug in it. But yeah, dishwater soap's fine. The M85 is actually better than the Draeger M65, in my opinion. Well, one of the things that has a drinking tube, if you were fussed on that. But it's mostly the reason I like the M85 is it just seems to be a better rubber that, and it has better straps. So, it's easier to tighten. It makes a better face seal because the rubber has a better sealing, thing to your face. Yes, Hatcho, I've got lots of masks I could depend on for atomic fallout. Atomic fallout is very easy to filter compared to lots of things because gas is way more scary in the sense of how it gets through a filter. Literally, HEPA filters will block, just basic particle filters block nuclear fallout, or at least a big degree of it. Other than iodine 131 as a gas, as far as I can believe, because I think that gets through filters, doesn't it? Yeah, the M85 is definitely better in my opinion because it's one of those sort of instances of just a licensed copy made to quite a good quality standard. And it's a shame that the hose was chopped up, but that's not bad at all, is it? That price of the mask, Henry. I like the MP5. It's not amazing because obviously it was made from not the strongest plastics and like rubber type materials, but the MP5 is pretty good. It's much better than the French mask. It was, again, like saying the M85 is better than the M65 it's licensed from, and the Polish MP5s are better than the French ARFA or whatever it's called it's licensed from. Yeah, Israeli M15s are good. Jan, search on eBay for something like Soviet PMG gas mask, as in Papa Mike Golf. The PMG. That is the mask I think you're thinking of. The white sort of latex skull looking one. My favourite Stalker mod. I played a lot of when I had Stalker installed not too long ago. I was playing a lot of Stalker Anomaly, which is quite a big, kind of total conversion. Well, it's not a total conversion, but it's like a big standalone, open world mod. I don't actually know Forever Young. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't actually know. I've not seen I don't know. I'd have to probably know what particular model it is. If you're comparing the late gens of them, the M17A2 I'd say is better than the PBF, but the PBF is very good for what it is. So I'd say M17 ABC, like the original one, or ABC M17, whatever it's called, and just the M17A1. I say a PBF is probably better. The A2 though, I'd say beats the PBF just because it's got a very well designed drinking tube. And by the way, the M17 actually does have a really well designed drinking tube because it basically moves forwards and backwards to go into your mouth rather than being like one of those ones that twists in from the side. So it actually doesn't ever poke you in the face when not in use. And it goes properly into your mouth. Right? You have to go like, trying to get the stories you make. I don't think I make stories on this channel. Or are you saying like as in on Call of as in Call of Chernobyl? Or do you just mean like playing about with it and having fun? Like the backstory for this character might be this sort of thing. Is that what you mean? Oh, good. You've got an M40A1. Yeah, the resuscitation tube is the bit why they basically removed it in the A2, because apparently the resuscitation tube was actually badly designed in the regard that it could create a failure in the mask and let air in. The Serbian M3 is basically a copy of the US M40 Krisu. So yeah, if you look up Serbian M3 gas mask, that's basically their M40 lookalike. No, Jake, unless one turns up really cheap, no. And if I did find one really cheap, what I'd probably do is do a couple of videos on it and then sell it for a lot more money, because, you know, the idea that you might have a single mask that's worth, you know, potentially thousands of dollars or pounds, I think I'd just rather have the money. Yeah, I like the Yugoslavian steel helmet a lot. It's quite well made. Cheaper mask for all purposes. Define cheaper. What's your budget? All right, see you, Carol. The thing is, though, the M74's rubber straps, as far as I'm aware, are still better than the German M65's rubber straps. Because the problem with the M65's rubber straps is they're like that really stupid, you know, thing where you can't really adjust them while the mask's on. You have to sort of take the mask off, adjust them, that sort of way. All right. If that's dollars, you can probably find a lot of good masks for that price. I would say see if you can get an FM12 for that price, or a Scott M95 or a Scott M98. I'm not really into Call of Duty games anymore, but if there's a Cold War one, you know, and it looks like I might get some enjoyment out of it, I might buy it. But sadly, I've not been to Canada or America. I'd love to go though. But Nick, I've been I've been sort of. It's hard to say how long have you like collected them, you know, been a collector for, but in terms of how long when did I start getting masks and then, you know, keep getting masks? Probably around the time I finished secondary school. So what would that be? 2017 sort of time, I think, 2016, 2017. No real theme, dank, as long as you say, you know, don't say anything offensive or whatever. Yeah, like I said, there's definitely masks that do have a better design, you know, strap-wise for every young. But it's not bad as far as masks go, if it's like the M85. Yeah, the masks I like are the ones sometimes where you can essentially adjust the straps, and then there's a bit of kind of elasticity to the strap, so you can basically, you know, pull the mask on in a sense, and then pull the mask off, but it's always keeps to the sort of size you've set it as. Well, I've been at work most of the day, but it's been all right, thank you. Sadly, I do not have a Prussian cavalry sword. I've got a windless steelcraft American saber and a windless steelcraft cutlass. I don't have a Prussian cavalry sword. But so yeah, this isn't the cavalry saber. That's in the other room. But yeah, that's the cutlass. Cutlass is actually a lot more practical in terms of size, because obviously a really long saber would be good outside in the open, or as they were designed to be used on horseback. But you know, you'd probably struggle to use it indoors. You have to. But with this, obviously, you have very good point control and everything else. No, I've got 1 or 2 pairs of combat gloves. That's it. One of the sets is like quite nice British Riot gloves. But in terms of backpacks, I've got a Belgian and a French old military backpack, as well as a few other like military satchel bags and things. But I don't really collect them. They're just some things that, you know, now and again, if I spot one cheap as surplus, I get them because they're good for storage. Sadly, I don't have an M1 Garand. I have an M1 Carbine, but I'm not allowed to show it on stream because of YouTube rules. But there's videos on my channel of it. Obviously, it's a DIAC because it's in the UK. And sadly, M1 Carbines aren't classed as obsolete or, you know, it'd be nice though, because 30 Carbine's a bit of a weird cartridge if at some point the M1 Carbine does become an antique / obsolete gun on the UK list and you could buy a fully functioning M1 Carbine. Favorite video game? Oddworld Abe's Exodus. How much did the M1 Carbine cost? I think £450. DIACs have gone up a lot since, though. That's the thing. Like now, it'd probably be like £1,000 to get an even more deactivated M1 Carbine. My favourite gun, though, I think, out of all the ones I've got, is the Schmidt Rubin, just because it's fully functional. You know, and it's nice. I've got 2 really old guns. The Martini Henry is from, I think, 1870 something, my particular Henry, and the Rubin is from 1892 on the serial number of mine when I put it into a serial numbers database, but the rifle is the 1889 pattern. Yeah, I'll be off in a minute just because, as I said, my throat's a bit sore. So I might go see if we've got any sort of, you know, like numbing cough medicine that'll probably do the job. Does does Denix do a replica AK-74? It wouldn't be the best quality replica AK-74, but they're generally sensible prices, Denix replicas. Yeah, I'm not having any alcohol tonight. To prove it, look, if I put my hand here, that's where my drink would be. There's nothing there. But yeah, I'm not having anything to drink tonight because, again, I like to have days off, you know, just because it's not good to be drinking every day. There was a thing on the BBC earlier, actually, Peach, about the amount of people who are just drinking way too much since lockdown started just because, you know, they're bored. Basically is the reason it starts off, or like they're worried about their job, you know, and then they drink and can't stop. That's the point, Peach, but I didn't know if that person was actually in the UK, though. That's what I was just suggesting, Denix. You know, because a lot of countries don't have that rule. Alright, get out of here, stalker, and Swaggerina. Right, the best modern, very modern mask I have is this MF11D that Hype sent me. But they're pretty hard to find, I think, unless you're actually like buying it from China. The Avon M50 is alright, although I'd prefer a C50 because that's 40mm. The FM53 is good. Yeah, 30-06 is powerful. Something that annoyed me the other day, I was listening to a thing and a guy pronounced it 30.06. I was like, what's he on about? Oh, he means 30-06. Yeah, I'll be off in a minute. really ought to work. But it was the fact the person said 30.0. I think they said, yeah, 30.06. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Alt buck, yeah. Like double alt buck, yeah. Triple alt buck, yeah. It's the same thing, the alt, isn't it? Yeah. The oldest gas mask I've got is going to be one of my World War II civil masks, probably the Vox Mask 37 again, but I can't really show it because it's in another room, and I'm finishing the stream like any minute now. That's interesting for young. So basically, it was go from 30-06 to 7.62 by 51mm, so we can skimp on powder by spreading the powder out between more cartridges. What? It's a 357 Magnum, Peachy. Yeah, 357. I mean, why is it actually pronounced so 357 rather than it being 357 or 357? The prisoner or the actor? Chemo save. You can have the final question of the night when you get back to me on if you mean the actor or the prisoner. I've got Charles Bronson's book, The Prisoner, although I think he's renamed himself several times now, hasn't he? He's no longer Charles Bronson. The Prisoner. He's an interesting bloke. Hope they let him out eventually, because he was that guy that kept. There you go. He was the one that kept getting harsher and longer and longer sentences because all he did was just fight people. But yeah, I have Charles Bronson's exercise book. Sadly, I've not actually done everything. In it, but yeah, I just bought it because it's more interesting in Charles Bronson, like how he got so tough in prison. But yeah, anyway, that's my opinion on Charles Bronson. I hope they let him out because as much as he did do some stupid shit, he doesn't seem like a bad person. He did like some robberies, didn't he, when he was younger? But that's such a long time ago, and he'd been out for them. All it was just fighting other prisoners and fighting guards in the prison. The Tom Hardy film's good, isn't it, about Bronson? But yeah, interesting bloke. But yeah, anyway, right, I will see everybody maybe tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be streaming Tuesday, probably not, but I'm sure I'll stream tomorrow at some point. Anyway, goodbye. If I can find the end stream button. There it is. Right, bye.